So I really appreciate the roller coaster ride that we've gone on so far, with the topics that you've had in your discussions. So now we're into part 3. So what do you do following up after the first 2 topics?
Well, episode 3 was about the family dynamics, and I felt like that was needed because I come from a blended family, where there's children on my mom's side, children on my dad's side, and together we make 8. And those roles are important. I was the oldest on each side, so I was a big brother to many, and I had to be one way with mom, one way with my dad. But to understand those roles are important. The role of a middle child, the role of a older child, the role of the baby, and how we feel throughout those moments. You can feel like you're overlooked as a middle child. As the older child, you can feel like you have too much responsibility. As a baby, you feel like I got too many people managing me, So I feel like it was important to get in depth about those roles. And we had a good time.
All right, guys, let's get into it. So on this episode, we're going to do household and family roles. So, do we blame our parents for our mistakes and misfortunes?
Yes.
That was correct. Yes.
No, I take partial. I'll take partial blame, but I just feel like in a lot of areas, my mom didn't really raise me. Like I kind of had to raise myself, and I didn't really have guidance on a lot of things like financial literacy, sex education, things like that. So compared to like my other friends and other people that I know who had parents who like really like guided them, they made smarter choices than I did. So in a way, I do kind of place a little blame on my mom.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. But it's more so not like partial blame, but it's more so because I know if I had that guidance from my mother, it would help out a lot. But also, she didn't really have that. My mom was like an immigrant, so she came from Trinidad. So she's kind of learning things that she comes here too. So I can't put all the blame on her, but it is definitely hard.
Right.
I want to say, like, I don't think I put the blame on my parents. For me personally, I just feel like, that was their journey, and what they went through is what they went through. And honestly, if I didn't go through the stuff that I went through, I wouldn't be who I am today. And I'm not saying that they didn't make mistakes in the process, but that was their journey. So I had to learn to separate what they went through and with my life, because what I went through is what I had to go through to become who I am and who I'm going to be. So I wouldn't put the blame on them. I mean, I would say, of course they made mistakes, as everyone do, and of course, there was problems and issues throughout, but I wouldn't be who I am.
Okay. All right. Have you ever held a strong emotion directed towards a parent or guardian, whether it be resentment or fear? Can you truly ever have a healthy relationship with them if the issue was never addressed?
I feel as though, I held resentment towards my father, but that was in my younger years. Like I had therapy, and he kind of talked it out and worked through it, and the reason why I had that resentment towards him. And it was mainly because, of course, my mom was a single mom, and my father tried the best that he could to interact with me and participate in my life. But at the same time, I just feel like he didn't try hard enough. And that might just be me being young and didn't really understand, like, the ins and outs and reasons as to why he wasn't there certain times, or the reasons why, my mom and him didn't get along, so how that, really impacted my life and affected me, like where I live, maybe he couldn't travel to come see me at certain times. I didn't factor all those things in, but now as an adult, I look at it and I say, well, like Alexa said, all parents have their own journey. And they try the best that they can. So I feel as though I don't want to hold that resentment towards him, but I definitely did have my resentment like in the past. I definitely did.
I've heard Dad say that, oh, well, the ones that are still there, like, well, because I've used it to my father. He's used this before. Well, I never walked away from you, so, that shit, like, kind of like that should be enough. And it's like when it's your parents, the father is just as much responsible as the mother. Like, why can't, like, the dad walk away and wander and go from 3 different states and doing what he's doing, but the mom is there in the house, doing what she's supposed to do. Like, for instance, I feel like with my mom, there's a resentment there, but there's also a love there because she was a provider. Like, she was a single parent. she had 3 kids by the age of 19, and she did the best she could. Like, as far as being there emotionally, not so much. And that's where I feel like I have the resentment issue, because I would have liked that more, like her being there emotionally. But, like, having 3 kids by the age of 19, you still trying to live your life. You know, you still trying to be the person that, you know, you are meant to be. And I feel like, you know, I don't know, I feel like millennials, like, do we have issues with our parents? Do we talk about it? Like, do we do that enough?
We don't talk about it at all. I know it's kind of the same relationship with me and my mom, because I'm one of 10 kids, and I'm number 7. So, no, I'm number 6. I'm sorry. It's so many. But yeah, and so like I feel like by the time my mom really got to like kid 5, it was just too much. So by the time like me and my siblings came along, it was like my older siblings was really like raising us, because my mom had, you know, drug issues and other things, and we were taken away and then given back to her, and I just feel like she just had too many kids. And so like the last few of them, we were just raising ourselves, because at that point like life had already like hit her, and it was too much. So that's what I say, like my mom, I really had to like raise myself and practically raise my younger 4 siblings, because I kind of, I don't want to say she gave up, but it like wore her down at that point, having like 10 kids and everything that life throws at you. So I think that's really where just a sense of resentment comes from, because I feel like I didn't have like the mother that guides you through every step in your life. Like I had to figure everything out for myself. So yeah, we don't really talk about that with parents, and I feel like it's a form of disrespect. Like, sorry mom if you see this, but like I don't think I can come to her and like as a grown woman now and say these things that I'm confessing on camera to her face, because she is my mom and she never walked away. She did raise me. But to say, hey, I feel like, you know, I kind of raised myself and you was just there, but you wasn't really a mother to me, I can never say that to her. Like, I feel like that's disrespectful to say that. So I think open up a conversation like this to give younger girls and boys opportunity, that if they feel like this, don't wait until you're grown like me, but start the conversation at an earlier age. Like, if I would have started at 13, like, hey mom, like let's talk about this. Why aren't you giving me these conversations? Why aren't you at, you know, school events for me? Like, you know, if I would have had the courage to say that a lot earlier, I don't think the feelings I have now would have built up.
Right. I feel like even if you were to even say that to your parents, like at such a young age, that would just come off as disrespect in general, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, all black moms like, who you talking to? You talking back? Like, what are you saying? You got food in the fridge. You got food on your head. You go to school every day. Like, you don't have no room to complain. And I feel like, you know, as a child, we're scared of that pushback, you know, and I think that like, that's the dilemma there. It's just like finding ways on how to talk to your parents, because they are so combative. Like they feel like, okay, that's like, why are you coming at me? Like you say the child's place, so to speak. Exactly. So it's hard. It's like, where does a child find that line? Like where do they find a time or, you know, how to do it? Like it's hard, you know.
It's like a number of factors.
It really is.
You know, this kind of goes back to like life, and also they're from like a different generation. Like they didn't grow up with like the access to technology to talk to whoever and see whatever, and see what someone's doing in Tokyo or what someone's doing in Mexico at this very second. So I think it's also like depending on what your parents, what generation they're in, they just kind of grew up in that generation of you just got to take life and take it on the chin and keep going. So it's not like you really went and talked about all your feelings. Kind of like how we know now, because you know now we have more education on like, oh, mental disorders and depression is more than just something that is like, oh, it's okay, you're just sad. No, it's like there's more to it. So I think it is like it's difficult, and I've had this experience with my mother myself, because I try and talk to her about like her past and everything like that, but she's the type of person that likes to bottle everything up, because she doesn't want to like kind of show that she's down, because she wants to put on that like front, like, oh, I'm the head of the house, so I have to, you know, be in good condition so everyone else could follow and keep everything together. So I think that's another factor that plays into it.
It took me up until like my adult age to have those conversations with my mom, like, because it's getting to a point where like she was hurting herself. So I had to like, listen, I gotta have this talk, or we just gonna go in this house with a big elephant in the room, knowing that we need to have this kind of talk. So it took my adult age to like have those kind of talks, and then trying to understand what my mom was going through, because I feel like we always be, I mean, you know, the parents, they are to blame. I do feel like in some sense, like some sort, they are to blame, but I feel like we also have to like take a step back too and understand what they're going through and stuff too, so you can know how to address the situation as well. And it's also, I have this big thing where I say it's not what you say, it's how you say it. So it's also how you come off too, and how they're going to receive it. Because if you're coming off like, you know, because we're frustrated, then they're definitely not going to take it. So
you kind of react in the same way someone presents themselves to you.
Right.
And I also feel like we view parents as like heroes. Like we idolize our parents, and so there's a lot of pressure there. Like when I finally had like an honest, serious conversation with my mom, like as an adult, there was so much I learned about her as a woman and not as a mother. I think that, you know, as a child, we don't look at them like they're, you know, an individual. We look at what they can do for us, what they provide for us, you know, like if they can comfort us. We don't look at them as like, you know, they're dealing with their insecurities too. They're dealing with their financial struggles too. They're dealing with their romantic issues too. So I think that as you grow older and as you really see them for who they are, you have more of a respect for them. You get what I mean? Like, you know, you kind of, well, this is how I feel. I kind of shifted the blame from them. So initially I did blame them for certain things that happened in my life, or, you know, certain things that I wasn't taught. But it's actually, you know, I had a lot of respect for them when I grew up and found out, you know, they were going through a lot of shit when I was upset about, you know, him not coming to my party. Like, he had a lot of shit that he was dealing with. Or, you know, my mom, you know, maybe she said something to me that really hurt my feelings in that moment, but, you know, she just had something that happened at her job that really had her, you know, in a lot of distress. So it's just things, you gotta put things into perspective when you get older. Like, it's just certain things you really gotta let go in order for you to heal yourself too.
Right.
Like,
Well, what about people with absent parents? Like,
yeah, that's what I was going to speak on, because, you know, I hear everyone talking about, yeah, my mom did this. Me, like, personally, like, I didn't have my mom or my father in my life, like, consistently, because, you know, they had different addictions and different things, and I felt like that took a huge fell on me, I guess. Like, it just took a huge toll on me, because by the time I got to my college years, I'm trying to figure out who I am. But these are the people that's supposed to love me first. That's supposed to teach me how to love myself. That's supposed to teach me how others should love me. But I never got that. You know, I never got that from my mom. Like, yeah, you know, some way she was in my life, she did love me. But, you know, there was points where we were homeless and didn't have anywhere to sleep, where I had to go to school wearing, like, the same clothes that I had on yesterday because, you know, we didn't have enough money or things like that, where I didn't eat at night. And, you know, it's kind of like looking back, you know, that was a lot of pain, it was a lot of hurt. And I know, you know, it was due to her addictions and her journey. However, it hurt me in the long run, because then I didn't understand how to love myself. And then, you know, when I would get bullied and have low self-esteem and become suicidal and things like that, like, people wouldn't understand. They'd be like, okay, wow, your mother has addiction, get over it. But, you know, that's not fair. Like, that's not fair to me. Like, even at this age, people say, you've been dealing with this your whole life. You still thinking about it? That's my mother. That's my father. You know, they're the ones that I'm supposed to look up and say, you know, I love you. And then, like, when you see on Mother's Day and Father's Day, everyone posting their moms and dad, like, that is like the hardest time for me, because, like, I usually like try to log off, because, you know, I'm happy that everyone has that, but I don't. So when I say, you know, people say, oh, they have these bad relationships with their parents, I'm like, listen, at least you have that in your life, and at least you can fix that. Like, I tried to fix a relationship with my father, and have I heard from him yet? You know, so it's just hard hearing that type of stuff. Like, did I resent them? At first I did. But then when I learned I went to therapy, I learned how to become myself, I learned how to love myself, and I'm still constantly learning how to love myself every day. Then I'm like, you know what, I don't resent you, because you taught me who I need to be. Like, now I'm able to, you know, I'm about to get my master's, I'm able to help people, you know, like, I'm able to help people that experience things that I've experienced. You know, when I'm talking to different clients or different people, like, I can tell them from experience. It's so much that I've been through that I'm like, listen, you may think I don't know how you feel, but I know how you feel, and you're gonna get through it, because you are, you know.
Yeah. I feel like I don't, with my dad, I would like to fix the relationship with him, because when I came out, he just, oh, I can't deal with you anymore. Like that's it. And I feel like, well, everybody else in my life is saying they've been new since I was a kid. So my thing is, I want that openness for me. I want that openness for all these kids, like the young kid that just committed suicide because he was gay and he was getting bullied. Like I want those open conversations to happen because it's like, well, I have, you know, somebody I respect in my life told me, oh, well, I mean, I don't know everybody's surprised, like I've been new. So it's like, why couldn't my parents say something to me? Like y'all saw me too, like they saw me more than anybody else saw me. My father wasn't in my life as much, but still, he was in and out, and my mom was there. So why couldn't you guys say, well, Shaka, what do you like? You know, why? Like, and that's the thing I want these open conversations to happen. So you won't be 27 and have anxiety issues or depression or whatever. You won't, not even you won't, but you'll be able to have coping skills. Like when I got to college, I learned DBT. Like I went to therapy, like group therapy helped amazingly, tremendously. So just learning the resources and skills, and even if you're not in college, like finding a local therapist or whatever. Like so, you know, you can have those resources. I think that's really important. So what do we think about the middle child syndrome? Is there something to that?
Yes.
Okay,
more.
explain?
What's the middle child syndrome?
Well, I mean, when you are the middle child and you feel like your parents either coddle the baby and they put all the responsibility on the older child, but they don't really like see you because you're in the middle.
You were like neglected.
I think it's true, but it kind of goes further out than just, you know, being a middle child within like a family. I think that kind of also goes into like just society. So if you're like a kid in school, you don't get into trouble, but you're not like, you know, a prodigy or at anything.
Right.
You know, people, they tend to pay more attention to like the kids that are always getting into trouble. You know, principals, oh, you're in my office every day, why are you doing this? I want you to be better, so they get a lot more attention because they want them to kind of grow. But then, or also you could be on the other side of, oh, you're a prodigy, we know you're going to be great. So it's also just society in general. Like if you're not spectacular or you're just completely failing, then you do kind of get looked over just as like that average in between person. Right. So I think it's true, but then it also there's a lot that needs to be changed about it, because I feel like every kid needs to kind of get their moment to shine, because I think in general it's like you don't really get the opportunity to learn your talents as like an average kid. Right. Like you just kind of know, oh, this guy's really good at that, I can't do that. Or this guy's really bad and they show a lot of attention, I don't want to be that. You know? So I think it's just putting kids in opportunities.
I think the middle child syndrome well, at least for me, created a lot of anxiety and this notion in my life that I can't fail, because I had 4 younger siblings. My mom compared me to the youngest and oldest. Like whatever I did was either going to damage and affect the younger ones, or it wasn't as good enough as the older ones. So in everything that I did in my life and all the decisions I made was never about me. My career choice was, it had to be good enough so that my younger siblings can look up to me, but better than what, you know, my older siblings did. So it just created all this anxiety of I'm living for someone else. Like I'm living to be this example and this shining example for my siblings, and it's never like my choice, because everything that I did, if I stayed out too late, it was, what are you teaching your younger siblings? Like if it was like growing up, I wanted to be I wanted to go in space. Like I wanted to work for NASA, and my mom was like, 1, she was like, girls don't do that. But 2 was like, no, like that's not realistic. Pick something that, you know, that your younger siblings can see, and like, you know, they'll want to do that too. So it was just everything in my life was always like this fear of like I'm failing, or this is not going to be good enough. So it's created like a lot of anxiety. Even at this point in my life, I still think about like my younger siblings, or what my older sister has 4 daughters and she's married, and you know, and all that, and it's all the time. It's like I feel this pressure, like, oh my gosh, I gotta get married, I have to do this, I have to, you know, be that example for my younger siblings. So it's created like this huge anxiety about, you know, who I am, and I know who I am, but I'm still figuring it out. And I think if I was able to make my own decisions for me, I wouldn't have had this fear that I have now of like failing and not being good enough for the older ones or the younger ones.
There's a lot of nuance to the conversation though, because at the same time, like, you know, you grew up in a household where all your siblings were there, right? And you too, Adi.
Kind of, yeah.
like, so for me, I had a blended family. So on my father's side, I was the middle.
Okay.
And on my mom's side, I was the only child. And then she had a child 17 years. And I'm when I was 17. And so that made me the oldest on my mom's side. So I think that's also an element of the conversation that needs to come into play too. It's just like, where do you fall on both sides of your family and how that's impacted you too? Like, you don't grow up with all of your siblings. Because we have some families where they're going from house to house. Like, some weekends I gotta go to my father's house, some weekends I have to go to my mom's house. Like, you know, who's your primary parent? You know, who do you get the most care from? I think all of that matters when you talk about syndromes, because you have the oldest child syndrome too, when all of that weight is placed upon you. You have the younger siblings syndrome too, it's like, you know, nobody expects anything of you. So why should I have to try? I mean, all of these things kind of affect your personality as an individual in general. But I definitely think that, you know, we need to touch on blended families. I know a lot of y'all out there, you know, like, y'all going through stuff too, jump from house to house, and it's okay, but, you know, we gotta really understand that on that level too.
That's true.
I disagree with the fact that the younger kids learn from other people.
Depending on the person.
I feel like y'all be wilding, and we still be getting in trouble for y'all.
Yes.
Y'all don't get whoopings like we got whoopings.
Yeah,
Parents be coming up with excuses talking about I ain't as young as I used to.
Right.
Oh
and they're
such
so
a
like
big difference from the
Yes.
oldest and the youngest.
Yes,
Like, they
they
don't
follow
even
them.
try to discipline the youngest anymore.
They be
Like,
getting away with
to the
words
point-
that I'm
Not
not
only that,
saying.
I got
Absolutely.
like one toy on Christmas and the youngest got like 15. I'm like, Ma, you said we ain't have money for that when I was like
No,
younger.
it's
Like,
that's
I don't
life.
Yeah,
get
but
it.
the oldest child does try to boss the youngest child around.
Now,
I'm just saying.
Responsibility though.
No, but
Like,
they try to boss because they think they know everything.
Because who
And
told
I
you
know
that
stuff
peanut butter
too.
jelly?
Well, what about the favorite? What about the favorite child?
I
What about that? What about the favorite child?
Okay, I
Oh, I
think
don't
this is
know.
both of them favoritism.
My parents don't do that in the house.
Okay, so the reason, to say about like the older kids trying to take the parent role of the youngest, so my experience is like me and my older sister, we felt like our parents were not trying anymore, like they didn't care anymore, like stuff that we would get in trouble for, my two younger sisters was not at all, and we're like, what? Like, I would have got backslapped, like, quick in a hurry, everything. And so, so we just kind of was like, no, like, we kind of took over and was like, no, you have to do that. And it did bring, like, drama because, like, after they'll tell my parents, then we got in trouble. And it's like, but that's crazy because they're not, like, where's the discipline here?
Yeah.
And so, like, I feel like parents a lot, especially if your parents are like in their 50s and stuff, like I feel like they definitely don't, they're like, they pretty much, I don't want to say give up, but it's just not the same
They get tired.
You can't be running.
like you got.
Do we call them out for for showing favoritism? Do we because as kids I feel like, or when we were younger, because we're adults now or young adults, when we saw favoritism happen, did we say anything? Did we voice it?
I think that's like subjective though. Like, you know, how does a parent show favoritism to their child? Like, one child might be good at something and other children might not, so they want to kind of cultivate that skill within that one child. Whereas another child, they might just be, you know, rambunctious and just out there, so they need more discipline. And I feel like that child that needs more discipline might see the other child like, oh, you're the favorite. But no, you just rebellious, you know what I'm saying? Like, fire, like, she's just out there, she's out there. But it's like, you know, some parents, they don't really know how to like individualize their parenting skills. So that's a big thing too. And I also feel like things would be different if we were all like, if we all had traditional families, like a mom, a dad, two kids or three kids, we would all be having different answers right now too. Like a lot of us are like missing, and like sorry for your unfortunate circumstance with your father. But it's like a lot of us are missing fathers being in an actual household too. So that's a big, huge factor in how moms and grandparents kind of raise their kids too. It's like, I think that would be completely different. Like we would all have different answers if that were to be the case.
I do have to say, I do think that regardless, middle, last, first, I do think that parents should engage themselves in every child's life because just because this person, like, I'm in dance, so like my parents did, like sometimes they did, sometimes they don't, and then like versus my younger sister, like, you know, they rarely go. But I felt like regardless of what first, second, or third, whatever, like I feel like all parents should try to engage in the child's life because that means something. Because then that also kind of creates a little tension between the siblings. Like, oh, mommy always go to your shows, or something like that. I feel like regardless of what it is, parents should always support their child's endeavors and whatever they want to do.
100%.
But what about if you have a sibling that has a learning disorder or a mental disorder or a physical disability? Like, is that still favoritism?
No, that
like,
changes
honestly,
things.
yeah,
I feel like
like
that changes things.
But then,
would say
like,
that
you can be
each
hella
child-
self-centered to feel some type of way. Like,
No, but a lot of
Really
kids
young
feel
days.
that way though, and are they wrong to feel that way?
I don't think they're wrong feeling that way, but it does change things, and that's where you have to, like we were saying before, like kind of understand, have compassion for their parents, in situations like that. So
I think there's a difference between favoritism and parents loving their kids in a different way. Because each kid needs a different type of love. Like, if you always get in trouble, you need a different type of love than the person that's just out here trying to do straight A's. You know what I mean?
You need that tough love.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a different way for every person. So if you got a kid that has like a mental disorder or something, you're gonna give them maybe more time. Time might be the way you show them you love them. But for this kid, you might only need to show up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Show up
Right.
to their sports game or show
Right.
up to their spelling bee, whatever the case may be.
But what
So-
do you say to that kid when they don't have, like, because attention too,
Yeah.
like, the time and attention to that one child that might be dealing with a certain disorder or disability, and that child that's normal, quote unquote, what if they are missing their games or their functions because they have to deal with that child? Is that child wrong to feel that resentment and to harbor that resentment and anger?
I feel like it's not wrong, but at the same time, you have to be open with your kids. A lot of parents aren't open and
They
paying
hide a
attention.
lot, and they hide a lot from kids because they
Yeah.
think they don't understand.
Right.
Like, I know my younger sister, we're a year apart. When she was 12, she was diagnosed with diabetes, and so it completely disrupted our family because when you have diabetes, you can't eat sugar. So my sister, she was a 12-year-old kid, and all of a sudden she goes to hospital for 2 weeks. She come out and they say you can have no sugar at all. And so my mom, first time she was dealing with this, and so she didn't really educate us on, how we're supposed to, like, how to have, like, this new life that we had. And so, like, I would go to the store and I would give me candy and I would get her candy. And so she would, like, go, like, literally pass out, go in the hospital, and I would be, like, getting in trouble. And later on, I'm like, Mom, how was I getting in trouble when you didn't even educate us on, like, how? And so she was like, I was trying to protect you guys. Like, it was too adult-like for you, like, to have that conversation. And so a lot of times parents think that they're protecting the kid or they're too young to, like, know about these things. But I'm like, Mom, I was literally hurting my younger sibling because I just didn't know, and you just felt like, you shouldn't tell me. So I think that's a part of it too.
I think in a situation like that, I think that you should, like one of you guys said, like you have to, like if it's a child with a disability or whatever, the bad child, and you feel like they're getting favoritism, I feel like it's okay for parents to know that they can show that, I don't know what I'm doing sometimes. Like, I'm trying to make it to your game, but I also have to work and I also have to do this. Like, they have responsibilities too. And I think a part of it is showing that vulnerability. Like,
Transparency.
like
I
letting
also
us know that.
I also agree with Cassandra. Like, I feel like it needs to be that education. Like, me and two of my brothers, we have sickle cell. So one of my brothers has it a lot worse. So he's in the hospital all the time. So he does get a lot more favoritism, right? Because of that. And, other people say, oh, well, he's spoiled, he's this, he's that, because he's always sick, right? But it needs to be explained to us, yeah, you have sickle cell, yeah, you get sick, but, he does get it a little bit more. So we just want to make him feel better. Because when he's if you're familiar with sickle cell, you have these terrible pain crises. He's having them a lot more. And you know how it feels already. So he's having a lot more. So I can give it to you. If I would explain that, I wouldn't be so like, well, he's spoiled, he's this, he's that, I get sick too. No, like, I understand, he's almost, feeling like he's want to lose his life because of that.
Yeah.
So, because sickle cell can kill you. So, you want to give them that extra specialness or whatever. But it's important to, like you said, educate the children on that.
100%. Well, that's all the time we have for you guys today. Give yourselves a round of applause. So that's all we have for episode 3. Episode 3 was one of my favorites because we got the chance to be vulnerable with each other, and that just set the environment for peace, for togetherness, for love, like to come in. And I feel like feeling those deep emotions, they make us who we are. You know, understanding our family and understanding how a family works, it's important. And I feel like this discussion will help a lot of people.